Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kudash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. And the chariots are, of course, the heavenly vehicles of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs. And not only are the chariots coming to save the elect of the nation of Israel, the 144,000 and the rest of the righteous 1/3 of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like the heathen nations, but as it says, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. They're also coming to make war with the heathen nations and shoot onto them concentrated heat, or so-called laser beams. And hey, with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to the anger and the fury and the judgment and the salvation of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Over the past couple of years, there's been such an uptick in chariot sightings all across the planet that these different governments across the planet have been having to acknowledge of their existence. And some, like the U.S. government, are saying they're going to come out with some information that they've known on the chariots, which they refer to as so-called UFOs. And in this video, I'm going to go into a few articles just to go into that fact and to show that our salvation is nearer than when we believed, Akim. So now more than ever, you should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you possibly can to make your calling and election sure and be saved from Jacob's trouble and be beamed up onto these chariots as Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai renders his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. But the first article I'll be going to is on thesun.com titled, "Look at That Thing. U.S. Navy vid shows so-called UFO or chariot whizzing through the sky before dropping into ocean. As ex-pilot says, military sees them all the time." They got a video right here that I'm going to play.
Omaha, 15 kid, Rocco Frost with passability to launch Hilo ASAP.
Splashing and carrying rain. Sure. Got you in 3 nuts. Keep going, bro. So, to make it chance, you can probably bring that 35 relative to Sir.
Yeah, that brings out.
We got a lot of white water out there, some 6-foot swells. Whoa, it's getting close.
Yeah, we have 31 knots sustained wind, topside, gust of 40.
Oh, splashed. Mark bearing and range.
A new Navy video appears to show a UFO whizzing through the sky before dropping into the ocean, and an ex-pilot has said the military sees them all the time. The orb-shaped object was caught buzzing the Navy ship USS Omaha in July 2019 as personnel tracked it with a targeting camera. A still image taken back in July 15th of 2019, aboard the USS Omaha floating off San Diego shows a strange orb-like object flying around before diving into the Pacific Ocean. U.S. Navy footage showing pyramid-shaped UFO flying off the coast of California is considered one of the best ever seen, according to Mystery Wire's Jeremy Corbell. Former Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves recalled seeing unexplained objects flying in restricted airspace every day for years. "Whoa, he's getting close," one person is heard saying off camera. Then seconds later, the shape goes into the ocean and disappears from view, Splash, splash, mark bearing range, the same voice is heard exclaiming. The image and footage were published by investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell on Mystery Wire, and noting that the incident took place on the evening of July 15, 2019, off the coast of San Diego. Corbell also boasts that the provenance of the still photos and video all were captured directly from a visual system aboard the USS Omaha. Indeed, a Pentagon spokesperson confirmed last month that one of the freeze-frame images Corbell published was recorded by U.S. Navy personnel, according to Mystery Wire. Former Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves recalled seeing bizarre objects just like the one that soared around the Omaha. During one close call with one such foreign flying shape, the pilot can be heard gasping aloud in awe. "Look at that thing. It's fascinating," he's heard saying as part of an interview with CBS 60 Minutes, which showcases some of the archive footage. Hey, again, there's been such an uptick in chariot sightings all across the planet, that the powers that be have had to come out and admit to the existence of so-called UFOs, to the point to where CBS's 60 Minutes is doing showcases on them. In fact, he said he and his fellow pilots saw them zipping through the skies above restricted Virginia Beach, Virginia airspace on a daily basis. Every day for at least a couple of years, he said in the interview set to air on Sunday. Graves is speaking out because he's concerned the flying objects pose a serious security threat, and you can't even imagine. The federal government appears to be working to show more of what they know. A June deadline was set to compile a seminal report after the Senate Intelligence Committee nudged the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Defense to declassify some of the intel on what is categorized as unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, the new name for UFOs. I would say the highest probability is it's a threat observation program, Graves told 60 Minutes, and wouldn't rule out the possibility of Russian or Chinese tech behind the encounters. There have been other unexplained incidents. In one encounter from 2004, the USS Nimitz's pilots reported seeing a tic-tac-like object in the sky. Back in July 2019, numerous San Diego-based U.S. warships reportedly were visited by strange vessels from above. The USS Kidd, a Navy destroyer, was using night vision cameras and spotted several mysterious flashing objects in the skies, according to footage the Pentagon revealed to The Sun. At the time, Senator Harry Reid told Mystery Wire they are coming in swarms, like bees, like insects, so many of them, because the chariots are going to invade this planet to make war against the heathen nations, chiefly the Edomites, or the so-called white people. Like Graves, Reid too suspects former Cold War foes might be orchestrating these bizarre events. Always remember, Russia, the Soviet Union, is run by a man who ran the KGB. They had as many as 31,000 agents at one time, so Russia is involved in this, no question about it. And hey, even though you've got the Pentagon and other governments talking about that they know that UFOs exist and that they're going to release some info, don't expect them to come out and say that it's the chariots of the Most High that are piloted by the angels of the Most High, which look like dark-skinned Negroes. Who knows what they're going to release in that information, but it's probably not going to be that. It seems that they're putting up the narrative that it's foreign agents like Russia or China. But hey, when the time comes for Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai to make war with the realm of man, there's going to be no confusion as to what the chariots are and who's piloting them. Former DoD official Luis Elizondo, who is said to have analyzed UAPs for over a decade, told 60 Minutes that the out-of-this-world technology in the videos is beyond the capabilities of U.S. defense. Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly 13,000 miles an hour, that can evade radar and can fly through the air and water and possibly space. And oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity, he said in the 60 Minutes interview. That's precisely what we're seeing. Hey, the anger and the fury and the rebuke of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai quickly coming to you heathen nations and 2/3 of the nation of Israel that refuse to return under their power. That's it with this article. Now I'm going to go to my second article on MIC.com titled, UFOs are real, but might not be aliens, and that's somehow more terrifying. And you better believe it, because they're not aliens piloting the chariots. As I just said, they're the angels of the Most High that have the appearance of dark-skinned Negroes, and they're returning along with Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, who also has the appearance of a dark-skinned Negro with a white woolly afro and a white beard to make war against the heathen nations and save his elect. UFOs are real. This is true in the most general sense. There are flying objects that we simply cannot identify, but increasingly it seems as though everyone, including the federal government, is entertaining the possibility that these inexplicable events are potentially extraterrestrial happenings. The latest to give credence to this theory is Luis Elizondo, a former Pentagon employee who told 60 Minutes that UFOs are real, the government knows about them, and in some cases, there is no clear explanation for their existence. Elizondo, a former military intelligence operations officer and head of the secretive Pentagon initiative called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, said that unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, have been on the government radar for decades. While some of the anomalous aerial vehicles can be dismissed as simply being refracted light or weather balloons captured on camera, others can't be explained so easily. Those are the ones that have captured Elizondo's attention. It's pretty much saying the same thing from the last article. A bit troubling, in recent years, the government has gotten a little less secretive about UFOs. Several incidents involving Navy pilots spotting unexplained aerial anomalies have garnered national attention. Earlier this year, the Pentagon confirmed the legitimacy of footage that shows these unexplained objects. In the coming months, it is expected that an unclassified report on UFO activity documented by national intelligence agencies and the military will be made public. When that's released, we'll have a much better idea of what has been happening in the skies when most of us aren't looking. And according to Elizondo, it just might scare the shit out of us. Last month, he told the New York Post that fear is the main reason this information hasn't been made public, but it's not necessarily fear of aliens. He said revealing these UFOs might instead make the public think we were behind the power curve and that other countries are developing technology that the U.S. can't keep up with. Again, it seems they're putting up the narrative that these so-called UFOs are foreign actors from different countries with advanced technology. Like I said before, don't hold your hopes up that they'll say in these reports that they do declassify that it's the chariots of the Most High, piloted by the angels of the Most High, which have the appearance of dark-skinned Negroes. On 60 Minutes, the former Pentagon official again raised the fact that we have no idea where this technology comes from, on Earth or off, and that's the scary part. We're going through our due diligence. Is it some sort of new type of cruise missile technology that China has developed? Is it some sort of high-altitude balloon that's conducting reconnaissance? Ultimately, when you have exhausted all those what-ifs, and you're still left with the fact that this is in our airspace and it's real, that's when it becomes compelling, Elizondo said, and that's when it becomes problematic. The reports on UFOs, which is expected to be delivered to Congress in June, likely won't have any answers as to what these objects in the sky are, but they might help us form more specific questions about them. For instance, are we all gonna die? And hey, a lot of you people are gonna die. 2/3 of the nation of Israel and you heathen nations when these chariots crack those clouds and they start shooting that concentrated heat or so-called laser beams on you. Back in Isaiah 66 verse 15, for behold, Yahweh will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger and fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. And also, besides these chariots shooting that concentrated heat, you're going to have nuclear missiles shot to the ends of the earth, burning up you people as well for your wickedness. And I'm going to play a beautiful clip from GMS Get This Works YouTube channel showing the magnificence of the heavenly vehicles of the Most High. This is the power you heathen nations are going to have to deal with. Passenger jet captures golden chariot over Moscow, Russia.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here we have a golden UFO sighted outside an airliner window over Moscow, reported on April 14th, 2021. Here the footage is slowed down by 0.25x. Here are a few still shots.
Now let's get into some precepts. This is Revelation chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, the revelation of Yahawashi Hamashiach. The revelation of Yahawashi Hamashiach, which the Most High gave unto him, to shew unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, Yahawashi Hamashiach, returning with the heavenly armies to save his elect and make war against the heathen nations and take away their rulership, chiefly you Edomites. Jump down to verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. And in the scriptures, clouds can be symbolic for the chariots. Real quick, this is Psalms 104. I'm going to read verses 1 to 3. Bless Yahweh, O my soul. O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who covers thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heavens like a curtain. The point's in verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. And every eye shall see him. And hey, as Esdras said in 2nd Esdras 13, Yahawashi is returning in a massive fathership chariot that was so big he couldn't see the ends of it. And they also which pierced him. And hey, reincarnation is biblical. Those centurions that pierced Yahawashi in the past are walking the earth today to receive their judgment personally from Yahawashi. And all kindreds or nations of the earth shall well because of him. Even so, Aman. And the reason all kindreds of the earth are going to wail because of him is because, for one, the elect are going to wail in joy and happiness because they're going to get beamed up onto the chariots for salvation. 2/3 of the nation of Israel and you heathen nations are going to wail because you're going to receive the judgment from Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, getting hit with that concentrated heat or so-called laser beams from the chariot, as well as getting mopped up with those nuclear missiles that are also going to get fired in that day. Now I'm going to close it out in Revelation chapter 19. I'm going to start at verse 11, and the header reads, the coming of Hamashiach. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, also symbolic for the chariots, more specifically that massive fathership chariot that Esdras couldn't see the end of, that Yahawashi is returning in. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war against the heathen nations. Once more in Isaiah 66 verse 15, for behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariot like a whirlwind, to render his anger and fury, to make war with the nations, and his rebuke with flames of fire. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, symbolic for Yahushua returning to take away the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly the Edomites. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, symbolic for the mass death and destruction that Yahushua is bringing to you nations, again, chiefly you Edomites, which you can read further about in Isaiah chapter 63. Yahushua has a personal bone to pick with you Edomites. And his name is called the Word of the Most High. And when you go to John chapter 1, you can see that Yahushua was the Word of the Most High made flesh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. The heavenly armies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, an army of chariots piloted by the angels. Real quick, back in that first article, where's it at? Slovakia. Here it is. At the time, Senator Harry Reid told Mystery Wire they are coming in swarms, like bees, like insects, so many of them. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, like swarms, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, and that sharp sword is symbolic for that concentrated heat, or those so-called laser beams that are going to be shot from the chariots, that with it he should smite the nations, the anger and the fury of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty Power. Point blank, period. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.